Hi guys, Maverick Veteran here, back with a vengeance now. What am I going to cover today? Well, it's going to go on for a little bit. I'm going to cover a little bit on Brexit, friend requests, unity, Op Zulu, what's happening in Brecon this weekend, what's happening in York this weekend, NVDA, which is non-violent direct action, and funding, to name just a few things. I'll probably add bits in because you know what I'm like, I tend to ad lib and go off on tangents and things like that, but I'll try and stay as focused as I can. We've got people I can see tonight watching us from Jersey, Guernsey, Channel Islands. I've got a little bit about that in a moment. The States, Australia, hello Richard, New Zealand, Canada will probably pop up in a minute, Turkey will pop up in a minute, and bits of Europe, that place that we don't talk about. So first off, what I'd like to do is just thank everybody for the support that you've given me over the last few weeks during my absence. Very, very much appreciated, and it really does sort of keep me going. You know, knowing that people miss me when I'm not around is quite nice in a weird way. Also, thank you for everybody for what you do, whether you're admin, whether you are just a member of a group and you support that group through the keyboard, or whether you actually attend events. Everything that you do to make a noise and try and improve things in this country really does mean a lot to everybody, so thank you for that. Right, Brexit. Obviously we've got a new government in place, and we thought that things were going to move forward quite quickly with the new government with regard Brexit, with regard Northern Ireland vets, with regard the homeless issues, with regard everything really, and none of it appears to be happening, because Boris Johnson has now prorogued government, which is not so much of a bad thing, but you've got Corbyn and his merry band of men and women still creating issues in and around the politics that need to be sorted out if we've got any hope as a nation, as a united kingdom, to come together and go back to how we were before 1972, if you can remember back that far. Now, the Queen has signed a piece of paper saying that a law is now enacted to stop Boris Johnson from going for a no deal. I know that's creating quite a bit of panic amongst people. People are speaking to me and saying, you know, what does this mean, Si? You'll probably be able to find out. Well, I've had a little look. It's actually nothing to worry about. Her Majesty the Queen knows what she's doing. She's got our full support. What the document is basically is that it stops Boris Johnson from sitting around on his bum, twiddling his pom-poms, waiting for the 31st of October to come so that he can just slam us out without a deal. What this document says is he has to try and find us the best deal possible between now and the 31st of October. If he doesn't find us the best deal possible in the 31st of October, then we can still come out of Europe without a deal, which is obviously the best way for things to go, especially in my opinion. So it's nothing to worry about. It's just a formality, if you like. Now, the Channel Islands, they've got their knickers in a bit of a twist, and they've got their emergency powers instructions have been updated. Now, this is creating a little bit of worry now in the Channel Islands, because the Channel Islands obviously are off the mainland UK. They're probably the furthest away of all the islands within the British Isles. And the emergency powers that they've written include things like if things go Pete Tong with Brexit and we end up without a deal and everything slows down with regard imports, exports, things of that nature, things of public services, etc. breaking down, they are going to introduce things like curfews. They're going to perhaps switch off power, that's electricity and fuel supplies. They could suspend phone lines after a certain time of day and not switch them back on again until the following day at another certain time. And because of the worry over prescription drugs being shipped around from Europe and from here in the UK out to the Channel Islands, they're perhaps going to inform doctors to restrict the amount of prescriptions they write each day, so that only the people that are really, really sick get the prescription, and those that just go because they got the sniffles, well, they have to go and buy over the counter. But even they may be restricted, because obviously counter purchase prescription drugs are going to be as in short supply as the prescription drugs, possibly. Again, I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think it's just scaremongering by the Remainers, the Ramonas, because what they want is for everybody to go into a blind panic and say, oh my good God, if we go out without a deal, we're all going to starve to death. All our little colds and flu symptoms are going to turn into terminal illnesses, and we've got no chance of a cure, and we're all going to be brown bread. Nothing to worry about. It's the Remainers, it's the mainstream media pushing out all their usual BS just to panic everybody at the last moment into saying, let's not leave Europe, let's stay. Having said that, I have had a little word in the ear from somebody in the Channel Islands in Jersey State that has said that if I set foot in Jersey State, they're going to kidnap me and not release me back to the Channel Islands, because in vengeance, if you like, for the fact that they were left alone all those years in an occupied state during 39-45. Fine with me. Sunnier, innit, in Jersey, so I'm quite happy to go along there and stay as long as they want to keep me. So great, looking forward to that. Right, next thing I'm going to come on to is friend requests. A lot of friend requests are bouncing in my direction, and I also know that they're bouncing in other people's directions as well. And they're from people that might already be on your friends list. So they're like duplicate friends. Now, I know that Big Phil Campion put out a post last week, I believe it was, may have been the week before, saying if you receive a friend request from me, it's not from me, this isn't me, this is basically a troll. So what I would ask everybody to do is, if they're receiving friend requests, do a little bit of vetting on it. If you've already got that person on your friend list, perhaps contact them and say, have you sent me a new friend request? Have you got a new Facebook page? If so, I'll accept. If you haven't, then I'm just going to ignore it and delete it off. Just a little bit of checking up, that's all it is. Just to make sure that it's a bona fide request and not just somebody trying to jump on your page under an alternate name, knowing that you'll accept it, so that they can gather up as much information about you and what you support as they wish. That brings me on now to Unity. Now, over the few weeks that I've not been on Facebook, again, Unity has sort of died off a little bit, and there's all this bitching going on between I'm not attending a protest if the yellow vests are there, I'm not attending if the DFLA are there, I'm not attending if Joe Bloggs is there. It's all bollocks, isn't it? At the end of the day, we're supposed to be a unified team, And the only way that we can unify our country is for all our teams, irrespective of where they come from, to unify. Everybody's capable of taking direction. If we don't want the yellow vest people to attend our function wearing a yellow vest, that doesn't mean they can't attend that function or that protest. We just ask them, don't wear a yellow vest. If it's an organised thing and they want veterans to attend but they don't want veterans in berets, well, they just say don't wear your berets. Something like that. Just to carte blanche blank everybody out, I think is the wrong way to go, and all we're going to do is divide everybody, and as soon as you divide everybody you can conquer them quite easily, and the people that we're fighting right now are going to win, and we don't need them to win, we don't want them to win. We have to unify, we have to become once again a united kingdom of England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, plus all the associated islands and Gibraltar. Op Zulu. Op Zulu is on September the 28th, so at the end of this month. Now, Dean Cumberpatch put out a feed the other day saying that the idea is now to, and Harry Ragg also put out one of these feeds, put out saying that Op Zulu, which is basically Rolling Thunder, supported by the Never Surrender group and anybody else who wishes to join in, although it was stated no yellow vest, no DFLA, but I've talked about that. Occupying a park from the 27th of September right the way through to the 30th. So a bit like what we did back in end of June, beginning of July. Worked well, achieved quite a lot, raised the profile, got lots of promises, but those promises still haven't yet been fulfilled. So things are now stepping up a little bit. It's all to do with Northern Ireland vets, which is probably one of the most important things on the agenda at the moment, if not the most important thing on the agenda. Now, the only thing that worries me is this. When we were in the park the last time, on the Monday evening, which was the 1st of July, I received a message via Gold Command from the boss, the big boss, stating, could you ask my veterans and associated people with great respect to vacate my front garden by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, which was Tuesday the 2nd. Well, we did that and we actually moved out by 9 o'clock. Now, the other part of the message was that you don't have to leave London. If you wish to occupy another one of my royal parks, then you may do so, and if you wish to go and protest at my other house where those other people work, i.e. Houses of Parliament, then you can do that as well, although there's really no point at this stage, because obviously she was privy to the fact that Boris Johnson was going to put out a statement on the Tuesday morning saying that when he becomes PM he was going to end the persecution and prosecution of Northern Ireland vets. On the Tuesday morning I spoke to a guy called Tom Jarvis. Tom Jarvis is the director of the Royal Parks. Now, the Royal Parks are run by a charity called Royal Parks, so they've just dropped the word "the" off the front. He very respectfully asked that if ever we return to London and wish to occupy a park, we don't occupy the two parks that are classed as Her Majesty the Queen's front garden, which is St James Park and Green Park. So that restricts us to 6 other parks. Now, what they're trying to do is get us into Hyde Park. Hyde Park is a little bit more out the way, but they're able in Hyde Park to lock us in, so they can kettle us, if you like. So I'm in liaison at the moment again with Tom Jarvis at the Royal Parks, and I'm waiting on a phone call back from him. Now, bearing on it's gone 6 o'clock in the evening now, he's not going to ring me today. So if he hasn't rang me by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll phone him back and ask him which parks we're allowed to occupy, and if we're not allowed to occupy any of them, I will ask the question again as to why, when we were given permission back in July to occupy or reoccupy a park, provided it wasn't one of those two. And then I'll broadcast out to everybody what he said, and we'll take things from there. Obviously what we don't want to do is annoy the Queen, because the Queen's on side with us at the moment. She's a veteran, all her family are veterans from one of the services, so we really want to keep Her Majesty on side with us. So bear with me and I'll see what jiggery pokery I can do. Whilst we're in these parks and at all events, because I want to talk about now this Saturday. This Saturday is an event in Brecon. It's organised by the Never Surrender Wales group. Sean Morris is there, John Taylor's there. I furnished them today with a video about the Lisbon Treaty, EU military unification and PESCO. That's also up on my wall, so anybody that wants to get a preview of that can do so. Also on Saturday, by the North East group, which covers Yorkshire, Humberside, all that sort of area, is another group, another protest, in York. So Nicky Batty and so is running with that. So there's two events this Saturday, then we've got Rolling Thunder. They're quite well publicised at the moment, so the world and its dog knows that these events are going on. So what I would ask everybody is to ensure security during these events, because we haven't had a terrorist attack for a long time now, but we know that there's been arms caches and things like this found in recent days, certainly over the past week, and they're all related to probably Islamic terrorism, and it's probably that Islamic terrorism that is going to sort of try and disrupt anything that we do now. So all I'm asking is, when you're out on these events, please be extremely vigilant, look after your own personal security, but keep an eye on what's going on around you as well, because I don't want anybody falling foul of something that may happen. I'm not saying it is going to, but having been somebody that served 23 years in the military, I know how sudden a situation can change. It can go from peace to turmoil in the drop of a hat. So please watch your personal security, which is why a lot of information that's going out from Rolling Thunder won't go out until sort of final detail until late on, probably the 27th, the day before the main event. Non-violent direct action now is what I want to talk about. Now, we've been trying to avoid this for months, years now, really, to be perfectly honest with you. We've done protest after protest after protest. They're wearing a bit thin. People aren't really taking much notice of us anymore. We put live feed out after live feed after live feed. People aren't taking much notice of those anymore. As you know, all my stuff gets monitored nowadays because I'm on that watch list. I can live with that. And I get the odd phone call, and yeah, there's probably snippets of information that they learn from me, which they then use to their advantage. Well, that's fine also. But we're going to have to step things up now and be more in the face of government and the authorities that work in and around the government, because protesting alone ain't working. So we've got to move into the non-violent direct action type of thing. So you've heard of us talk about the big stop. We've heard about us creating disruption to commercial transport, infrastructure, bridges, things of this nature. We're going to move on to all that now, because we have to. Because if we don't, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen. And as a veteran, I can turn round and say that we are very well supported by the civilian population in the United Kingdom. And the civilian population in the United Kingdom is relying on us as veterans to put our money where our mouth is and actually do something that's going to make positive change in the UK. So if you're an infantry soldier, you would say it's time to get where the metal meets the meat and really become in the face of people and not bow down until such times as we get written confirmation that stuff is gonna change, and we get dates of when this stuff is going to change. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to the Northern Ireland veterans alone, we're talking about people's lives here, and they're quite elderly gentlemen now, and they want to be sat in front of their television or having decent conversations with family and friends. They don't want to be waiting for the doorbell to ring, waiting for the door to knock, waiting for the phone to ring to say that they've got to appear in court at any time soon to face charges from things that happened 40, 50 years ago. It's absolutely barking mad. And the court cases that are lined up now, I just hope that they all go the way that it was promised to us on the 2nd of July, in that the cases are opened, arraigned if you like, and then adjourned until a date later next year or beyond, when the government finally sorts its life out and says that there is no further evidence, we're not going through the circus ring again, we're going to knock it all on the head. That's the only way it can be done. It's got to be knocked on the head. And the only way we're going to achieve that is to be a nuisance, to be fair. An absolute nuisance. Not just quiet protests, not just live feeds. A nuisance on the street. Hit them in the pocket, things change. Because money always talks. And as soon as you affect the money that flows around this country, in and out of this country, we're going to get change. But until we do that, we're going to get no change, in my honest opinion. Right, funding now. I've been watching feeds, and Dean Cumberpatch put a feed out the other day, and he was quite animated, like he is. I quite enjoy watching his videos because he's excitable and he's full of passion, and I like that. That's good. But he mentioned something about speakers receiving money, which sort of pricked my ears up a little bit. And then shortly after that, I watched a live feed from Harry Ragg. And Harry Ragg, another passionate guy from my corps, Royal Corps Transport, he said something about speakers getting money as well. So I started asking questions and keeping my ear to the ground and seeing if I could find anything else out about this on Facebook or other social medias. Well, it turns out that people obviously are asked to speak at these events. I get asked all the time, Si, can you come and speak? And if I can make it, I'll say, yeah, I'll come up, I'll do it. Or, no, I'm sorry, I can't make it, I've got another engagement that day. Or, no, sorry, I just haven't got the funds to get there. And that's fair enough. It's job done, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just thankful that I'm asked. But some people get asked, can you come and speak? And their immediate answer is, yeah, but you'll have to fund me. I'm not doing it for nothing. Now, that floors me. That really floors me, because I thought, as a speaker myself, that I was going there to support an issue that's going on, whatever that issue is. And I thought I was using my own national and personal pride to put the point across to whoever's there and whoever's watching the live feeds via social media. I've never seen this as a money-making venture. I don't see how it can be that people could even consider accepting money or accepting money through somebody else's pain and suffering. I can't get my head around that at all. Now, I think I know who these people are that are asking for money to go and speak at these different protests. But I'm going to keep it to myself. And what I don't want is now to receive a shed load of direct messages or private messages saying, I only asked for money because. I don't want any of those messages, because all you'll do is confirm to me that I already knew who it was that's asking for these payments. And if I receive those messages, I'll have to then screenshot them and put them out public so that everybody else knows that I know who it is that's requesting these payments. I think it's completely outrageous. Why can't you just follow my lead and say, sorry, I can't afford to do it? Or, sorry, I've got something else on. Why do you have to turn round and say, yeah, I'll come and speak for you, but you'll have to pay me? I think it's bollocks. I'm sorry, if I've offended you, tough. Because it's not on. And it needs to stop. If you can't do it for free, and for the passion, and for the good and the benefit of the country, and for the people that we're fighting for, like Dennis Hutchins and Soldiers A to Z, then don't speak. Now, I'm big enough and ugly enough to turn around and say it doesn't take a certain or a special set of skills to jump up on a podium, grab a microphone and speak. Anybody can speak. You don't need to be an expert climber to get on the podium. You don't need to fast rope down onto the podium or parachute onto the podium. You don't need an SAS cat badge or a parachute regiment cat badge to speak. Anybody can speak. Now, there's a lot of dangerous men out there that killed more people than the enemy ever has. And they're the good people of the Army Catering Corps. Now, I know some good voices in the Army Catering Corps who are very, very passionate and would be only too happy to speak. So why don't we start thinking out the box a little bit and start bringing people in of different cat badges to speak? The next time I'm asked to speak, maybe I'll just throw my maroon beret to one side and I'll put my blue RLC beret back on. And maybe I'll even put two cat badges in it, my RCT one and my RLC badge, and do a Montgomery impression. Or maybe I'll just wear a great big massive hat and I'll put every single cat badge in it that I can find relating to every cat badge that I supported during my tenure in the Royal Corps Transport and Royal Logistic Corps. It'd have to be a huge hat and I'd look completely ridiculous. But it's a thought, isn't it? Food for thought. Like I say, I don't want any direct or personal messages saying, no, I only asked because this, that and t'other. Your secret's safe with me, but it needs to stop. Do it out of passion, do it because it's the right thing to do, not because you think you can line a pocket. There's times when I haven't got a pot to piss in, and there's been times when I haven't had a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And I've still not asked for money because I'm more passionate about my country and the people within it than I am about myself and my bank account. So ending on that little rant, I think that's about all I got to say really. I noticed Nathan Kirkton's name pop up a few times there. Nathan, I promised to phone you and I haven't. Now, I know I've got to get my head around this common law and this lawful, whatever it is, I can't even remember the words now. But I've got to get my head around it because I don't understand it, to be fair, bro. So I promise, I'll phone you and I'll get the information off you and I'll see how it all works because I just don't understand it, to be fair. So all that's left for me to say really on this grey day here on Southampton Common is to thank you all again once more for being there for me and being there for one another. Remember, don't be alone, don't suffer in silence. Get in contact with me or somebody else if you just need a quick chat, and we can put any little issues to bed before they get to the stage where really bad things happen. So look after each other, stay safe, look after your personal security, attend these protests if you can. If not, keep an eye out on all the live feeds. Love you all loads. This call sign is out.